Buying a house sight unseen in Tennessee, what should I know? Would you ever buy a house sight unseen? Many people would say no way. However, it happens more often than you might think. There are several valid reasons for buying a home without setting foot in it, and so far in 2022, we've sold 10 homes to clients who either hadn't seen the home in person until a day or two before closing, or some for even several weeks afterwards. We've sold homes to people who had never even been to the area other than to vacation, if that. Now, I'm sure many of you out there right now are cringing at the thought of buying a home you hadn't seen and saying, I'd never do that. Most people, given the chance, would want to see what they were buying in person. It's only natural. A home is often the biggest financial investment a person makes in their lifetime, and you want to be sure you're making the right decision. I get that. Some people wanted to do a short-term rental while they figured out which area was best for them and to be able to see homes in person once they got here. However, once they found out how rare short-term rentals are in the area and it wasn't going to be a good option, they shifted gears and decided to buy this way. Also, most people don't want to move twice. So depending on your life circumstances, the logistics of your move, and other reasons, sometimes people make the decision to buy sight unseen. So why have some of our clients chosen to buy a home this way? Well, based on our experience, there are basically two groups of buyers. The first group, they spent some time in the area and knew they wanted to move here, but they didn't find a house during their visit. They planned a scouting trip to Northeast Tennessee to visit for a few days so they could get a feel for the area. We took most of them on a driving tour of the area, showing them the highlights of each so they could get a better sense of where they might want to buy. Usually we looked at several houses while they were here so they could at least get a sense of what they would get for their money, even if the right one wasn't out there at the time. Buyers in the first group left knowing that Northeast Tennessee was a place they wanted to live eventually, but they weren't able to get a home under contract during their stay. Just like most of the country, our inventory has been very low in the past couple of years, and the odds of finding a home that you want during the first few days you're in the area can be pretty low, depending on what you're looking for. And you don't want to feel pressured to find a home in 2 days if you don't have to. So the second group of buyers had never been to Northeast Tennessee in their lives. They had done the research and were comfortable knowing that they wanted to settle down in Northeast Tennessee, but they relied on online sources like Google, YouTube, and Facebook, or maybe they knew friends or family in the area to help guide them. In any case, they knew Northeast Tennessee was the right place, they just didn't have a house. For most people that live hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, it doesn't always make sense to drive or fly in every time a house is listed that they think might work. By the time they get here, it could very well have gone under contract, and that's a waste of time and money. Or they could get here only to find out the neighborhood wasn't what they were looking for. Flying and driving across the country isn't cheap, so most people felt the risk wasn't worth it. Some of our buyers simply couldn't travel. They had hectic work schedules that they just couldn't get away from, and it made a visit impossible. Maybe they were in the middle of getting their home on the market and needed the time to pack and get out of the house by their closing date, or some couldn't fly for medical reasons. Some people were responsible for other family members or pets and just couldn't leave them alone that long. In any case, everyone that couldn't make the trip to see a house ahead of time had a valid reason. So how can you buy a house sight unseen successfully, and what are your risks if you do so? Well, the first tool you'll need to buy a house sight unseen is the internet. Obviously, since you're watching this video, you're at least beginning to explore the idea of moving and your online research is underway. You've figured out that YouTube is one of the best resources, and you can find informational videos like this one, drive-throughs of areas by vloggers, commentary from locals, etc. Web searches are a great resource also. So Google things that are important to you about each state or area. For example, if you like to hike, you could Google hiking in Northeast Tennessee. Or if schools are important to you, you could go to greatschools.org, for example, and narrow down your search that way. Find out if there are local hobby groups near each area if that's your thing. Research a type of weather. And there are tons of Facebook groups dedicated to helping people either thinking of moving to an area or new transplants to that area learn more about the town. You'll find many options from different sources, and there's a lot of information out there for sure. Look through comments on YouTube and on Facebook posts. Now, everyone may not agree, but it's important to see the different viewpoints. I'd recommend that you use your research to help narrow down an area before getting too deep into looking at houses, even though that's the fun part. Picking an area is harder and often more important decision, in my opinion, than finding the specific house. You can find a house pretty much anywhere in the U.S. that will fit most of your needs. Of course, it may be priced much higher and sit in the middle of nowhere, depending on where you end up, of course. But nonetheless, homes are available. What's important to most people is the feeling an area gives them. Would they be happy there? Are the people friendly? Will I be close to activities that I enjoy? Will my day-to-day life be better here? If the house is the most important part of the process, you could start with that and see what areas have the types of homes you're looking for, and let that point you in the right direction. But in my opinion, the first step is deciding in general terms where you want to live. There's no point in looking at houses in Virginia if you want to live in Tennessee, for example. Once you've narrowed down your search to a specific area, try to find groups dedicated to that area and neighborhood. You can try nextdoor.com and Facebook. They can be great sources of info. See what people are talking about and ask questions if the group allows. If you don't have a friend or relative that can look at the house in person, check Facebook and see if you might have a friend who lives in the area. You might be able to ask them questions. In any case, the internet is your friend, and it's a powerful tool if you plan to relocate and buy a house in an area you really don't know. Now, the second tool you'll need to increase the odds of buying the right house sight unseen is a good real estate agent that's familiar with the ins and outs of working with buyers from outside the area. They're going to be your eyes and ears on the ground, and you're going to be placing a lot of trust in them. You want someone with plenty of experience and knows what to look for when touring a home. A lot of issues can be found up front by an agent who knows problem areas and how to spot them. You'll want someone that's tech savvy and a good communicator also. If you're thinking of looking in Northeast Tennessee, of course we'd love to be the ones to help you. But if you're looking elsewhere, chances are that we know of an agent personally in that market that we trust. Just let us know and we can steer you in the right direction. Having the right agent and online resources are two of the tools you can use to reduce your risk. But what's another? The home inspection. Don't waive the home inspection contingency and hire a good home inspector to look out for you. In my opinion, the best money you will ever spend in the home buying process is on the home inspection. They can keep you from buying future problems and give you yet another set of eyes on the home. Be sure whomever you hire is licensed and they're a good communicator. If there's any way you can make it to the inspection in person, you should. Now, I know this video is about buying sight unseen, and none of the 10 sight unseen buyers we helped this year came to the inspection, but that's a great time to come if you're ever going to. If not, be sure the inspector is available for questions, preferably while still at the property. That way you can video chat about what they found. You want to have your financing lined up when you're ready also. A good lender can be the difference between getting you your dream home and just a terrible experience. You'll need to figure out how much you qualify for and just how much your closing costs might be. Closing costs can be a significant expense, and knowing them up front helps you budget. Plus, if you need to ask the seller to cover some of those, then we know how much to ask for. The lender will also let you know the type of loan you'll be using, since not all homes qualify for all loans. If you need the name of a good local lender that works with relocating buyers, let us know. So what are the risks of buying sight unseen? Well, one obvious risk is that you won't like the house when you get here. So far, this hasn't happened to us, but it's something we worry about until the day our buyer sees it. Our job is to give you the most accurate picture we can so you're making the best decision you can, and we don't take that responsibility lightly. Another risk is that there will be hidden issues that you didn't find until moving in. That's the reason we don't recommend waiving an inspection. Now, inspectors can't find absolutely everything, but they can give you a very good idea of the home's condition overall and hopefully keep you away from any major surprises. There's another risk as a sight unseen buyer that you should know about. This one's out of your control, but it's a risk nonetheless. Several times this year, we've either lost multiple offer situations or couldn't submit an offer since the buyer hadn't toured the home in person. We don't let the listing agent know that you aren't touring with us, but if they ask, we have to tell them. It isn't terribly common, but in the heyday of multiple offers, sight unseen buyers were at a disadvantage. Sellers are sometimes afraid of the buyer putting in an offer to tie up the property long enough to give them time to travel here and see it in person, only to back out during the inspection period. Their thinking is that someone who's seen the property in person is less likely to walk away than someone who hasn't. Hopefully, since the market's shifting, this won't be an issue for you. With more and more buyers buying sight unseen, agents are getting more accustomed to explaining the value of these purchases to their sellers, and we're seeing fewer objections. So what's the process if you decide that you want to relocate but don't think you'll be able to see a home in person? Well, once your research is complete and you've narrowed down the search area, make sure you're reaching out to an experienced agent that works in the areas you're interested in. They'll ask you questions to find out more specifically what it is you're looking for, both in a home and in a neighborhood. They can begin sending you potential homes, and your feedback helps narrow down the choices even further. Eventually, you're going to find some possible homes that you think might work. For example, when one of our buyers asks us about a house, we get them more information than is available to the public, like plat maps and disclosures, to help them get a better picture of what the lot looks like and what problems the home might have. If the home still looks like a contender, we'll pop over and spend some time videoing the property, both outside and inside, while taking you through what we're seeing. It's common to find problems right off the bat that the buyer isn't willing to deal with, and we can eliminate it from contention right away. You'll have the listing pictures and sometimes 3D tours, but both of those can be deceiving. Rooms are often a lot smaller than they look online. Sometimes there will be an issue with the floor plan that the pictures don't show, and of course no picture can show you if there's a terrible smell. That's where your agent comes in. We're here to make sure you know as much as you can about the property without physically seeing it. If the buyer likes what they see and is ready to make an offer, we'll run comps so that we can give them feedback and advice on the amount to offer and then explain the terms. Signatures are all done electronically and the process is very simple. Once we have a contract, we get to work on keeping things going in the right direction. We'll send your lender a copy of the contract if that applies. We'll contact the title company. We'll give you names of some home inspectors and coordinate things here to keep things going smoothly. If you can't make it down here for the closing, no worries. We'll do a film of a final walkthrough before you sign and make sure everything's good to go. So how does closing work? Well, we work with a handful of local title companies that are experienced in remote closings. They coordinate the whole process with you and your lender if you have one, and we'll even have a mobile notary bring the documents to you for signature. The closing process tends to go very smoothly, so no worries about that aspect. Once you're closed, we'll collect keys and either send them to you or meet up with you when you make it to town and hand them off in person. So if you're thinking of making a move to Tennessee and may not be able to visit anytime soon, don't worry. Although it may seem odd, you'd be in good company if you bought sight unseen. It's a lot more common than people realize. There are risks involved to buying a home sight unseen, and our job is to minimize those risks. Do us a favor, if you enjoy this video, like it and subscribe to our channel. It makes a big difference in whether YouTube suggests our videos to other people, and it'll help us out. If you have any questions about our area or how we work with our buyers, reach out to us. We'd love to talk. This is Scott Henninger with the Home Team, where we're exceeding expectations, whether it's your first home or your last.